Welcome back. We're the Bourbon Junkies. He's Dan, I'm Sean,
to
and we're
ruin
going
your
to tell
year.
you the future.
Oh, imagine. I think I've been right several times, actually.
At least in your life, yeah.
All right. Listen, I said that, I don't know, I've said some stuff that came true. I did.
I'm going to kick you.
Like 2 years ago,
Came
I said brand preferences would become the majority of the market. I think we're there.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
All right, let's talk about 2025.
See if I can do it again.
Maybe to 2026.
All right, let's talk. Yeah, we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen with whiskey in the near-ish future. I'd like to start with Matt Madness will never actually have
Finish.
a champion this year.
Yeah,
because
it's
it will
just going to
never
be
end.
96 brackets,
Yeah.
right? And then it's just going to keep going up
Yep.
and up, and then we'll carry it into 2026,
And then he won't do it.
and then we'll have to restart.
Yeah, no, you're not doing it. Oh, there's no way, dude.
Love you, Matt.
We love Matt. But listen, odds of what we just said are happening, 30%. For real though, whiskey is an ever-changing market, an ever-changing industry. Very clearly, there's ups, there's downs, there's huge ups, there's slight downs, and then everybody thinks the world's ending. Seemingly is how it's been going.
Me too.
So the through COVID, it grew like 20 to 40% range, somewhere in a huge range.
Yeah.
And then it went down like 3.5 or 4% last year, which still means it's way higher than it was pre-COVID.
Yes.
Like by a lot. This year, I bet it comes down. I'd say 2 to 5%. That'd be the range I put it in.
That's fair.
If I had to nail it down, I'd say 3.2.
Yeah.
To be exact.
I think RTDs is going to continue up.
Probably.
Those
they're
seem
nice.
a lot easier.
Yeah, well, they're great. Seem a lot less red tape, lower alcohol, and a hell of a lot cheaper to produce. No aging.
Yep.
Fast as fuck, boy. All that kind of stuff. But I do think, now we talked about this in the Whiskey News video, you had mentioned it. There's like 1 billion barrels of whiskey right now, basically, roughly.
Yeah.
Is
A
that
lot.
just in America?
Yeah.
Holy foe.
I don't know entirely if that's America or across the world.
Okay, I'm first gonna tell you what I hope happens.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you what I think will happen.
Okay.
What I hope happens is spirits companies like ourselves will have access to barrels we would never have access to otherwise because there are too many barrels.
Yes.
That's what I hope happens. What I think will happen is, for context's sake, from the big brands that nobody can, people often cannot buy Buffalo Trace, Four Roses, Really Wild Turkey, Brown Foreman, like these brands. These are brands like we can't purchase
the
from
higher,
really.
like the LE stuff.
Yeah, and legacy stuff. Often when you see barrels from these brands, often they were toted already. Heaven Hill does this. I think Wild Turkey does that a little bit, but they'll tote it. It stops aging. If you put it back into New Oak, technically it's aging, but it's just kind of a thing where it's paused for a while. They're shipping it that way. And it's often off-profile, stuff that doesn't work in their portfolio. It's stuff that doesn't work in their SKUs. It doesn't taste like their product, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's why they're selling it. What I'm hoping is that was the context that was needed for, I hope that someday we can buy like, hey, that's a cool, we can buy 100 Buffalo Trace barrels or whatever it is. There was a time in the past where this did happen. Willet had Bernheim barrels. Willet had
everything.
All these ancient, like pre-fire Heaven Hills and all these really cool barrels because there were so many barrels on the market.
And that's
these
why
brands
people
didn't have
still
anything
lose
to do
their
with it.
mind over Willet Purple Tops.
Yes.
Because of what they were like predicated on.
What they were built on, yeah.
All the cool old shit that had crazy age statements and proofs and like different mash bills. It was wild. They had everything on the side.
Incredible whiskey too, truthfully. Like Willet started in an industry where if you could get access to those things and it took the path in which it did take, you were set. I mean, Willet I think is worth over $1 billion right now as a company.
Good for them.
And what launched that is the Willet Purple Tops is what gave them the cult following. Obviously, they've since launched all their volume products, the Willet Pot Still and Johnny Drums and Rowans and Noahs and whatever. But that company was launched on and is sought after because of that group of.
Okay.
Some of the best whiskeys I've ever had are Purple Tops that were ancient.
Yes.
19-year-old Willet Purple Top that we had at the bar that one time that Alves bought.
Because of Laser's code, he just knew.
Yeah, like legitimately incredible. Now, I don't think, what I think will happen is I think all these people will get barrels. I think they'll all push international and we will get access to almost none of them.
Do you think there will be like a greater rise of NDPs because of that?
I don't think so because
Or do you think the NDPs that are already in place and have some of a following get access to those barrels and then grow from there?
I think most of that, I think we already hit the NDP boom, which is a spirit, we'll just call it spirits company, non-distilling producer, whatever you want.
Us.
We're a spirits company. I think we hit that boom because everybody that had money to shell out for these projects.
We didn't.
But all the people that had the money and were paying attention and were watching saw all of this going like this through COVID. And when they saw it go up, they were like, we should start a company and just buy barrels and sell them right away. Like, it doesn't matter what they taste like, it doesn't matter what they are, but we can make a shit ton of money right now. Like, this is like a 2 to 3 year investment turnaround, and we're done. We can be done.
Which
Who
we've
cares?
seen the opening and closing of a lot of MDPs through, I would say, 2020 to 2025.
Yeah, I would say so.
The following that of just buying everything in the market, putting it into a bottle, and you're gambling.
Yeah, you are. And truthfully, I do genuinely believe, and maybe it's just to help me sleep at night, it could be, I'm willing for it to be that, but I believe that we invested our money safely. I think that we've done this in a way in which, like, if shit did hit the fan, if we couldn't sell a bottle tomorrow, we would be okay. We're not like super upside down. We don't have a shit ton of money like in things we can't sell. We don't no, we do not. We have, the nice thing about buying barrels at the correct cost is when you do that, they do, even as the barrel market comes down, the price goes up with age over a certain period of time. And the barrel market will go up and down. But I think we've seen the boom of, we saw the boom of craft like 2018-ish, right?
I would say
19?
2019,
Sure.
2020.
Like, it was like New Riff, Rabbit Hole, Peerless, Hard Truth, all, like every brand.
Driftless,
Yeah,
like
all
a bunch
these.
of like places that we've
popped.
gone and been to and enjoyed for the most part.
Yeah, and I think we saw that happen. And then we saw them all get really expensive because they were all really expensive at the beginning. And then actually a lot of them have come to, I would say, really reasonable pricing.
Yeah.
New Riff's pricing, I think, is great, fantastic.
Yep.
Penelope's pricing's fantastic. Some of them are still high. I think Rabbit Hole will be a premium brand.
I mean, they do have a $1,000 bottle.
Yeah, and I think, but
The old Founders.
that could just be the intent. Some people's intention are that. That was Blue Run's intention, Whistle Pigs.
Yeah.
But
To be in that premium space.
yeah, and I think that's okay. You can live there. Times get really hard when times in the economy are hard from a premium perspective.
Because not everyone is lining up to buy a $300 release over and over and over when fucking eggs cost $20 a dozen, you know?
And diminishing returns on whiskey. $60 bottle can be as good as a $120 bottle, and often is.
But at $80 bottles compete, up to $300.
Everywhere, yeah. A good one. But I really think now, to for your point and mine, there's rumors trickling that Brown Foreman barrels are going to be hitting the market.
That has been the hot goss for like
2 months.
Yeah, a couple months
3
now.
months, 4 months maybe. I think I heard like a month or two late. So, but it sounds like right now we already could be allowed to buy like Brown Foreman new make
as legacy,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit of what I was hoping would happen. Now I would like for us to be able to buy like 6 to 8 year old Brown Foreman barrels at a even relatively reasonable cost, truthfully. And reasonable being $4,000 a barrel.
Well, I think we've already kind of seen that with the 15-year buff turkey stuff.
Yeah.
That it is kind of that market that they're like, oh, this doesn't really fit our program here. We'll wholesale them. They are extremely expensive.
Those barrels, I mean, they're also 15 years old.
They're very,
ancient.
very cool.
Yeah.
The whiskey in them is great.
Yeah. They're $10,000 a barrel.
Yeah.
And the barrels might come with 50 bottles in them, or they might come with 100 bottles in them,
or empty.
So your liquid cost on that's over $100 a bottle. Yeah. And just the whiskey inside of any packaging you're going to pay for to put it in. But that's why those are so expensive, and people don't understand that. But that's like a cool little peek into like, see, you can find cool fucking barrels. Sometimes we don't buy them because those don't fit under a single SKU we have.
Yeah, so from that side of things, I do think there will be a slight retraction in the market a little bit, and I do believe it's mostly cost driven.
Okay.
So many people are putting out, like, how many more LEs are there now than there's ever been in whiskey? Mm-hmm. Every company has their own LE.
At least one, maybe 3 or 4.
And they're looking in that $200 to $400 range on most of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are either like super elevated age statements, or you're getting something cool on proof.
Yeah.
But they're not cheap. They're coming at a very premium price tag. And I think we're kind of getting that fatigue that no one's gonna want. I don't care if it's 18 years, cast strength, stuff like that. At some point in time, $500 is $500.
That's true.
So it's like that cost versus, go right back to what you said. Like an $80 bottle can very much bad up. Our $100 bottle can very much bad up. So
how much is
there's
Jack
so
14?
much diminishing returns that we're really in that market of like, all right, cool, we need to sell this at like $500 now.
Yeah.
Or we can just sell them off and just keep doing our core, make our money, get more like barrels out in NDPs, they might be more expensive for them. But it's just kind of getting to a very weird place with pricing.
Yeah, people are sick of like there wasn't a carrot on the stick. There was pre-COVID. The carrot was like half gone during COVID. Then the carrot was completely gone after
Now they're
COVID.
just beating you with the stick.
Yeah, now you're just getting hit with the stick.
Yeah.
But
you say thank you.
Like, what is it? So Turkey has
Campari.
Russell's 15.
Yeah.
Russell's 13. These are LEs.
Yeah.
Russell's 15, 13, single Rick, just in Russell's.
Yeah.
They have the Wild Turkey Master's Keep.
And the Master's Keeps have been going up and up.
Yeah.
I mean, Generations being 500, it was like
Generations was an
485 or
LE.
something like that.
So they could release 6 in a year, 6 LEs in one year at that point.
And you're going to be $2,000 deep
Into
in
those
just
6.
of one company's LEs.
Yeah, at retail,
And
not at secondary.
I'm not even going to talk about BTAC and how crazy those prices are right now.
Well, but
They're coming down a little
but
bit.
their MSRPs are only 120 or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you go, I know that Buffalo, like, it's just you can't find it.
never
Everybody
gonna find
wants
it.
it. But at least they've kept their prices super reasonable
Yeah.
from the most point. Buffalo Trace has. I know like some of the Weller stuff's crazy. I don't think.
Millennium being 7,500.
Do you think that? I don't think we'll see any more, let's say, $2,000+ bottles
I disagree.
in the next 2 years.
I disagree
except for
because I
Buffalo
think
Trace.
I know people are being very brand loyal. You're going to say outside. Okay.
Because Buffalo Trace is the only one that seems to continuously do that.
Yeah.
Woodford did it
Yeah.
once.
Baccarat.
I don't think I've seen them do it.
Because I think the retraction and like people buying and consuming so much less is just going to take all these barrels that people are sitting on. And like I said, you're either going to dump them to NDPs because you don't want to use them, or you're just going to start a new label. You're going to push it on out there, and it's going to be $300 to $500.
Yeah.
And you're going to do blends of it, and it's going to be, oh, great whiskey.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be worth the price tag.
Sure. Listen, I paid $300 for Russell's 15 again. How much is Jack 14? Like 150?
SRP I think is like 130 or something like
See,
that.
that's that's a steal, truthfully.
Maybe
Not
it's
that you're
120.
finding it for that.
My brain
Either
says
way,
124.99.
Sure.
Because I think it went 85 or 85, 95, 125.
Okay.
For the 10,
Which is
12,
insane.
and 14.
That's insane. But I think what people will continue to buy is those LEs that are, let's say, even sub 200.
Yeah.
Because I think around 150 is still pretty safe for good, really
think
good whiskey.
What it's going to do is really find that breaking point in whiskey.
Yeah,
in the
that's
next
fair.
year, we're going to find where people stop buying stuff. Because even right now at elevated price, I'm more willing to buy a couple $80 bottles than one $500 bottle. Because you're like, man, how good that has to be at 500 versus I'm going to risk 60 to 80 and be like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I'm not mad if the $60 bottle wasn't incredible.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's good. That's good. That's a good $60
I think we're
bottle.
just getting that bubbling point.
Yeah, I think we're hit. This year we'll hopefully see it actually fully plateau. Like it's either this year or next year. I genuinely believe that we'll hit the COVID. We hit the COVID peak, and then we hit. Was it last year? I think was the first year it went down. So we saw it come down 4% or whatever it was. I think we'll see it come down just a few more percent or whatever, a handful. And then I hope that either end of this year or next, like Q4 to next year, will just be flat. And I think that will be okay because that flat line is still much higher than this point before COVID. And even with a projected, if COVID hadn't happened, let's say, their projected, increase or whatever still won't have been as high as we are right now.
All right, so you guys let us know in the comments, what do you think it's going to be? Are we going to see a big uptick of RTDs? Is it going to be more NDP stuff? Or are we going to keep seeing the premium, like brands, like not premium brands, premium products come out across the board from all the big legacy brands dumping these extra H barrels? Stuff like that.
Or even the spirit premiums from the spirits companies, because that's a lot of, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of the NDPs are the ones buying those specialty barrels. River Roots bought some, Buckner's bought some.
River Roots been great in price.
Dark Arts bought, we know a lot of people who bought those buff turkey barrels basically. And what the other ones were like super old Beamer Barton or something. And it's like those barrels come out, it's just, we literally would have more liquid costs into an Arctic Spirit than we charge for Arctic Spirit with those buff turkey barrels, which is insane. But I think it's interesting.
Let us know what you
It'll be
guys
a ride.
think. Love you guys. Proofs in the port.